Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
So you've got questions on your mind. I know you do, because you ask them of me all the time. But a lot of your questions are either very poorly worded, and I don't even mean misspellings. I mean just very poorly worded. There's a right way and definitely a lot of wrong ways to ask questions. So instead of just ignoring questions, I thought I would help you a bit. I posted an article on Nomies.com. Now, if you're not a subscribed Nomie, you can do that while you're over there. But I've opened this blog post for anybody to read, even if you're not subscribed. So it's a blog post on how to ask questions. And this is important to you because you ask me questions all the time, but you got to ask better questions to help find better answers. And just, right out off the bat, I'm just going to dive into it. Have you searched for the answer already? Before you ask anybody a question, have you looked? Don't come to me if you could easily turn to a search engine like DuckDuckGo and ask it, hey, blah, 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 and then find the answer. Because chances are, if you ask me a question that I know could easily be found in a search engine like Google, Bing, whatever, that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to go there, search for it, and then send you the link to Google. Let me Google that for you. At which point, I'm going to tell you, all right, next time, you may want to search for the answer outright when it's a question that could easily be answered by a search engine, because not every question is easily answered by that, and there are differences, and I dive into that a little further. Have you tried fixing the problem on your own first? If you come to me and you ask, how do I set up an IRC server? Well, you look for instructions on how to do it. If you're asking me to do it for you, well, then I would have to charge you an hourly rate because time is precious. I couldn't even do that for Nomies because then imagine if I had to set up an IRC server for everybody who asked. I couldn't keep up. Part of the learning process is doing it yourself. Now, if you tell me, hey, I was setting up the IRC server, here's what I did, I followed the directions here, did this, now this is happening, did I miss a setting here, or what's going on? And that gives me more construct to answer your question. Not just me, but anybody who would possibly answer your question. But if you haven't even tried addressing the problem on your own, why ask me? I mean, I can't do everybody's job for them. I can help them along the way if they get stuck, but if you haven't even started to get stuck, I can't help. Number 3, the third point I wanted to make, it's relatively pointless to ask me what my favorite something is. Because my favorite may be completely different from yours. You could ask me something more specific, like what is your favorite application to take pictures on your iPhone camera and automatically have them posted to Facebook. That's very specific. And I may not have an answer for that, but that gives me a chance to narrow down the field of choices as to what it is you're looking for. Because just asking me the question outright kind of bothers me because there's so many questions that you could ask me that mean absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. I'll help you. I will absolutely answer your question if it's a question that has an answer that's worth sharing. I mean, asking me, Chris, what's your favorite color? Come on, dude. That's like grade school stuff or when you're dating someone. Beyond that, not as interesting to share. I outline, even more clear examples. And as a part of what I said, just a couple minutes ago, tell me what you've already done. In the problem that you have, what have you done to arrive at this problem? What have you tried to do to fix the problem? Because if you don't give me any construct, it's difficult. And then it's like pulling teeth to get troubleshooting, or I should say, to troubleshoot the problem or going through the troubleshooting process. Number 5, try to know or understand the problem you're trying to solve. Sometimes we get in over our heads. Sometimes we think we want to do something when in fact we don't even know what question we're asking to try to do something, but we just want to do it. Like, that's like me asking you, hey, how do I drive a car? You put your hand on the steering wheel and you do this and then your foot on the pedal and there's a lot of things that are involved. How do I fly a plane? Oh my God. I mean, could you imagine going up to a pilot and asking, how do I fly a plane? I mean, he could tell you generalities, but it's a bad question, a really bad question. Good intention, bad question, and the two are definitely separate. And just to recap, don't ask me a question just for the sake of asking me a question, really. It's unless there's a point to it. And I know you're thinking, oh, the point is that I want to know the answer. Well, have you checked Google? You could even add a word Locker, Nome, or Perillo to the end of the question and find out that I've already answered the question. Or you could look for it yourself. By asking someone else to Google something for you, you're wasting their time. Anybody's time, not just my own. Don't be afraid to ask the question, even if you think it's a bad one. It may be a good one, but as long as you stick to these guidelines, these principles, the answer should satisfy you. Stick to these principles. Trust me, there's a way to do it. And more importantly, be patient. You may think your question is the greatest in the world, and it's probably not. Or it's been answered already. And answering the same question over and over again when the information is easily attained elsewhere, especially when certain documentation has been set up to help you answer that question without having to ask it, getting frustrated at not getting an answer doesn't get the question answered any quicker. And believe you me, it frustrates the person you're asking probably more than it frustrates you for not getting the question answered. Because sometimes, as I write here, the person that you're talking to or asking the question of doesn't likely have enough information to address the problem effectively. So these are just general guidelines, because I do love answering questions. You know I do. But a bad question would be, let's see here. I bet you I can pick one up. And see, no, actually, this is an example of, I would say, a good question, but one that's probably answered elsewhere. What are those lights just above your monitor? Something that we all who watch this broadcast regularly know gets answered frequently. And immediately, that person asked, and I'm just going to give props to the people who responded to that. 19 the Legend 96 responded to it, and thank you. And so sometimes other people can answer the question for you. This is another reason why I happen to love Nomies, because in many cases they know the answer to a question. It's not just me who holds the knowledge and the power of the answer. If you are having a problem, a very specific problem, or you need help through a process, and you're not sure where to turn, we may be able to help. But if that problem is easily found, if that resolution or series of resolutions are easily found in existing documentation, take those steps first. Then if you run into problems, that's the time to ask a question in terms of problems. And there's some good general questions to ask too. Chris, what are your thoughts on X? I'll tell you, that's an easy question to answer if I happen to have thoughts on X. So, just ask better questions. And I think we'll both be happier for it. And it's not just applying to me. It isn't. It applies to anybody you might ask questions of. Trust me, they would appreciate it just as much as I do.